Hello and welcome to the Smart Chiropractor Show. I'm Dr. Jeff Langmaid here with my co-host, Dr. Jason Deitch. We're here each and every Tuesday talking topics in and around chiropractic. We have an awesome show lined up for you today. Yes, we're going to be talking mindset, clinical conversations. We have member highlights, business principles, marketing, and more. So please, if you don't want to miss out on any future episodes, enable those notifications if you're watching this on Facebook or a social platform. And please subscribe if you are over on YouTube. Jason, I'm pumped at today's show. And that's where I'm kicking it off. How are you doing?
I'm doing great. You know, every time we get to do the Smart Chiropractor Show, we get to just pour more information, inspiration, and hopefully some great, smart ideas with you, the viewer. Hopefully you're tuning in and each and every week growing with us, learning with us. Hopefully we're stretching some of your ideas, concepts, and maybe even challenging some of your beliefs, but all with the right intentions. And hopefully you'll work with us in order to see why we are pushing certain buttons in certain ways. We've been doing this for decades, and our intention is to help you grow into the dream practice that you've always wanted. So I'm doing great and excited to do another show.
I am looking forward to it as well. Let's kick off today's Smart Chiropractor Show with our Mindset Mentor segment. Welcome to the Mindset Mentor segment on today's Smart Chiropractor Show. We kick off every Smart Chiropractor Show with our Mindset segment because it is so critically important to set the stage for any of the tactical actions that you're taking. Jason, you have been referencing Roger Bannister for a few months now, and today is our opportunity to dive a little bit deeper to help docs listening and watching understand why Roger Bannister is so important to their practice, how they can think about this, and really how this applies to the growth of their practice. I'm throwing out a lot of fishing lines there, but I know you have the answers to this. We've talked offline about this quite a bit, but why do docs need to be in tune with the story and tale of Roger Bannister?
Well, the whole idea of Roger Bannister, as you said, I've been referencing him quite a bit. Roger Bannister was the first recorded runner to break the 4-minute mile. And what's really most interesting about the story is that nobody was able to break the 4-minute mark when running a mile until Roger Bannister proved it was possible, until he did it. You think about that. For as many years, decades that they've been running, recording running, timing running, etc., around the world, Roger Bannister was the first to do it. Now, what is fascinating to me about the story is that he only held the record for 46 days. And in fact, he broke the record, but he's also the holder of the record for the shortest period of time. So here's the point that I found fascinating and why I consistently will and have referenced Roger Bannister. If you think about that, no, out of the entire population of the planet, we couldn't find anyone who could break this record. He does, and as soon as the world knew it was possible, let's at least say as soon as runners knew that it was possible, then all of a sudden people's mind shifted to recognize if he can do it, I can do it. And that's very much our philosophy here. You know, we talk a lot about teaching and inviting consistently, building your audience, building, these large following of people that you're then able to teach and invite, meaning teach them something and invite them to take a next step. We reference people like Joe Mercola or Josh Axe or many, many, many of the thousands of others who are online building audiences and offering their audiences something that they want to buy, whether that's information, whether that's access, whether those are products that the influencer or creator decides that are sort of their favorite things. We watch podcasts on a regular basis, and this podcast is sponsored by. There's plenty of Roger Bannisters out there that are showing all of us what's possible. And that's really the reference. And I'm going to read just quickly from his Wikipedia page. I'll assume it's true because it's on Wikipedia and anybody can change it. But let me just give you a sense for his interesting and unique story. Forgive my reading. I want to get it right. Sir Roger Gilbert Bannister, who unfortunately passed away March 3rd, 2018, was an English middle distance athlete and neurologist, another interesting connection to chiropractors and chiropractic, who ran the first sub 4-minute mile. He did it at the 1952 Olympics in Helsinki. Bannister set a British record in the 1,500 meters, finished in 4th place. So that was in the 52 Olympics, excuse me. This achievement strengthened his resolve, meaning his Olympic performance strengthened his resolve to become the first athlete to finish the mile run under 4 minutes. He accomplished this feat on May 6th, back around this time, 1954, at Iffley Road Track in Oxford, with Chris Chataway and Chris Brasher providing the pacing. When the announcer, Norris McWhirter, declared the time was 3, whatever it was afterwards, the cheers of the crowd drowned out Bannister's exact time, which was 3 minutes and 59.4 seconds. He had attained this record with minimal training while practicing as a junior doctor. Bannister's record lasted just 46 days. Now here I'm just going to sort of show the next interesting part. If that wasn't interesting enough, Bannister went on to become a neurologist at Master of Pembroke College, Oxford, before retiring in 1993. As Master of Pembroke, he was the governing body of Abingdon School from 1986 to 1993. When asked whether the 4-minute mile was his proudest achievement, he said he felt prouder of his contribution to academic medicine through research into the responses of the nervous system. Oh, the ironies. Bannister was a patron of the MSA Trust. He was diagnosed with Parkinson's disease in 2011. So I thought that was an interesting story. And I guess some of the things it makes me think about and sort of ask is, what's your dream? As you, the viewer, what's your dream? And are you living your dream? Are you practicing your dream? You went to chiropractic school. Jeff and I were talking about this a little bit earlier, and we were sort of prepping, and it sort of dawned on me. I'm like, all of us had that moment where we made the decision to go to chiropractic school. When you look back, you go, okay, I decided to stop my life. You were all doing something. Maybe you were in college ready to potentially have a career or go to school. Maybe you were going to go to some graduate school. You decided chiropractic graduate school as opposed to other forms of healthcare, lawyers, accountants, other things you could have done. You could have done anything for the most part that you wanted to do, and you chose this. And I'm guessing you made that, I don't want to say sacrifice, because sacrifice tends to mean you did it without getting a return, but you made that choice. You made that investment of your time, of your energy, of your life. There's an interesting thing in economics that's called opportunity costs. And opportunity costs are what you could have done with the money if you didn't put it in whatever investment that you did. And that concept applies here too. What could you have done with your time while in chiropractic school, while building a practice? What was the opportunity you gave up in order to invest in this opportunity and to make this choice? And Jeff and I talk about this a lot because, we question ourselves. Why are we doing what we're doing? Are we on the right track? Is this true to our intentions and our desires? And what outcomes are we looking for when we introduce the ideas and the products and the concepts that we are and will be introducing to you? And, this has been an accumulation of, decades of our work. And what it really comes down to is that we think many chiropractors have sort of lost the forest through the trees, so to speak, that you get so into the day-to-day operations of things, and it gets exhausting, and it's overwhelming, and it gets frustrating. And then the number one issue that most chiropractors tend to be facing, not the only, but the number one most face, is this constant need for new patients. And we know that because, I'll talk to groups of chiropractors, talk on stage to chiropractors, talk one-on-one to chiropractors. And, with all the wonderful ideas that are out there, oftentimes chiropractors at the end of whatever great dream we came up with, wouldn't it be great if? Wouldn't it be wonderful if? Yes, yes, yes. But it still then comes down to, but I'm in a financial crunch and I need more new patients in order to be able to get my finances where they need to be, so that I then have the freedom to make the choices to do what I want to do the way I want to do it. And the questions, you start having to ask yourself is that really true? Is it really true that you've got to give up your dream in order to be a responsible business owner, to be an entrepreneur, as some call it? And is that really what you signed up for? And I remember when I was sort of, I'll say, retiring from my practice, I was frustrated. I was looking for the next thing for me personally to do. And I remember when people would ask me, do you miss practice? Why are you leaving practice? What are you doing next? I didn't know what I was going to do next exactly. I had a dream, but I had no idea if I could actually pull it off. But the reason I remember saying that I was okay with retiring from practice when I chose to at the time was because I remember saying, this is not what I signed up for. That what I dreamt about in practice did not meet the reality of practicing. And when I got into the day-to-day operational, staph infection issues, patient attraction issues, operations, just the insanity of keeping your doors open, and taxes and real estate issues and broken toilets and neighbors and parking and all the stuff that goes into being a business owner, I realized that it was kind of far off from the reason I was inspired to become a chiropractor to begin with, to help people, to be able to be knowledgeable, use my hands, and literally with my hands help people heal themselves by unlocking, releasing, setting free the interference to their body's ability to heal itself. That is what I wanted to do as a chiropractor. And as I was in practice for almost 10 years later, what I was doing, the minority of time, was based on what I wanted most of my time to be focused on. And that is very much what inspired me to sort of go, hey, listen, somebody's got to write a book. Somebody's got to get the message out to the masses so that people come in for the right reasons and stick around. Nobody else was out there doing it. I remember asking all my guru friends who were the celebrities of the profession, hey, you got to write a book. You're famous. You got to write a book. You're famous. You got to write a book. You're famous. And at the time, there wasn't any social media. There were authors who went on TV and talked about their ideas because they were the new best-selling author. That's why the context at the time. In today's world, it is. It's about building a following, just like a Josh Axe or a Mercola or many of the others who are attracting thousands, in some cases millions of people, millions of views, in order to learn a new way of living. And in today's world, you have to just look no farther than Joe Rogan, just as sort of the Roger Bannister of what's possible when it comes to literally using technology, using a microphone, having some conversations, and teaching and entertaining people every day about whatever you want. And if Joe can do it, you can do it, we can do it, it is possible. And although we may not be wrestlers and we may not have be friends with all the top comedians and get all the guests, the concept still applies. People will listen to you. Not everyone, not tomorrow, but if you'll focus on your dream, if you'll follow the principles of teach and invite consistently, if you will get your business handled so it doesn't hijack the reality of your dream. Nobody's arguing with the financial realities that you've got rent and payroll and mortgages and taxes and insurances. There is a financial responsibility to running your operations. But I'll close by simply saying, who's winning? The dreamer or the business owner? We'll talk more about this in our business strategy session this week as well, but that's the theme for this week. Who's winning out? That doesn't mean that there's only one. A dreamer needs to be a business owner, and I'd like to think a business owner needs to be a dreamer, although that's not always true. But that's exactly sort of the paradox or conundrum that we're at right now. We face those questions in our business each and every day, and that's what's driven us to a subscription model to run our operations, because we can attract those people that align with what we do and why we do it. In fact, content marketing is the exact opposite of what most marketers are teaching you in chiropractic. We are going the opposite direction on purpose. You might want to read a book if you want more information about that, called The Blue Ocean Strategy. It is about zagging when everybody else is zigging. It's about staying true to your principles of what makes you, you, what gets you excited to wake up in the morning and be of service to more people. It's not just that, oh, wow, we got a 2% increase, a 5% increase, a 9% increase. I'll close by saying, author Simon Sinek put it this way. I think we pretty much agree. He says that the goal of having a car is not to buy gas. Now, you go, of course that's the case. Duh, that sounds so silly and obvious. But the metaphor is that the goal of a business is not to generate a profit. Now you go, what? Wait, I thought that's exactly what it's supposed to be. So let's put it together. A car is designed to take you places, and gas, fuel, is designed to fuel the car to take you to those places. And a business, your practice, is designed to be something that is both an expression of you and your creative dream, and it is designed to be a vehicle to serve and help more people, to make a positive difference in the world, not just to generate more fuel, more profit, more money, more gas. So keep in context. Hopefully this maybe resonates with a few of you. Some of you may go, no, I just want to generate as much revenue as I can. Respect, do whatever, however you want to. But some of us are dreamers, and that's what some of us signed up to be chiropractors for, was to make a bigger difference, to get the money out of the way and still be of service to people and make a positive difference in the world. And if that sounds like you, then please continue to join the conversation. That's where we come from in our business, and that's the reason we provide the services we do now, and some of the things you'll see us launching in the future, is to automate the messaging so that you can build an audience of people online that learn to learn from you, so you can teach and invite them consistently, so that you can either help them in your practice and or help them with the other things they need by building an audience, teaching them, and providing them the products that they're already buying anyway, that they could and should be subscribing and saving and buying from you. And if you learn the detailed strategy that we're putting out there with our upcoming payday practice concept, you'll recognize that the genius in the future is going to be the dreamer who takes control of their business by being able to figure out, how do I generate monthly recurring revenue that will meet my monthly recurring expenses so my business is taken care of, and now I can express my dream. That's what it's all about in summary. We'll be getting into more and more detail throughout this episode and future episodes. If that conversation resonates with you, if something comes up for you, leave some comments down below. What's your dream? Do you have a Roger Bannister in your life, somebody who did what you want to do, that you say, hey, if he or she can do it, I can do it too? Who's that person? What's that thing? Let's keep the conversations going. Jeff, what are your thoughts? It's a big concept. It's a tough one. It's debatable. You know, you need money. You need it. There's no question. Nobody's saying you can just be a dreamer, although some people maybe can if they have no monetary needs and no spouses or family members depending on them for certain things. What are your thoughts on the topic, Jeff?
This is a powerful way to kick off today's Smart Chiropractor show. I just encourage every doc out there, look up the story of Roger Bannister. Jason, as you were diving deeper, there's so much to uncover. Really special guy. And it's a great example of looking at what is perhaps impossible and making it possible. All of us out there listening, watching, including you and myself, we have people that we follow online, influencers, celebrities, athletes, whoever it might be. Look at what they're doing and quite often, especially if it is somebody in the podcasting world, if it's somebody in the business world, quite often they are doing what we talk about, which is teach and invite consistently. They can be your Roger Bannister. All of us can have our own Roger Bannister. So look at what those people out there that you look towards, see what they're doing, understand what they're doing. I have a sneaking suspicion that more often than not, the core essence of what they're going to be doing each and every day is teaching and inviting. You can do the same, but the biggest thing you have to do is get started. Results follow actions, as you know, we always say. So you got to take those action steps. There's no better day than today to get started. And the sooner you start, the sooner you'll start to see those results that you're looking for. But in the meantime, head over to Wikipedia, check out Roger Bannister's profile. He's a fascinating guy, a great story, and an interesting model that can be applied in many areas of business and life. So Jason, fantastic way to kick off today's Smart Chiropractor show. Let's head over to our clinical conversation on today's show. Clinical conversations on the Smart Chiropractor show. Today, we're going to highlight one of our Axis 2021 presentations. Our Axis event is our online clinically focused event through the Smart Chiropractor. Be on the lookout for details for 2022 coming soon, but we've been taking time each week to look back at Axis 2021. We had a stacked lineup of guests teaching about fantastic topics related to chiropractic practice. And today we have a special guest on remote patient management. For all of you tech savvy docs out there, I know there are plenty. This is something you want to pay attention to. This is where healthcare is going. And we were super fortunate to have Dr. Guy Reikeman come on and discuss what he has been up to in the remote patient management world over the last few years. You're going to hear a lot more about this topic from us and from many others as the months and years continue to unfold. It is a big topic. It's an important topic. And here's Dr. Guy Reikeman touching upon the principles of remote patient management for our Axis 2021 event.
I want to thank you for joining me for my section of the Axis program. I have to tell you, I'm really excited about this program. So much of my lifetime has been spent dealing with chiropractors who have been focused on new patients and PVA and things that have to do with the business aspects of collections, et cetera, in the practice. And so it's refreshing when we have an opportunity to sit down and talk about why we do all of those things, which is really to enhance patient care. So I'd like to share my screen with you and walk through some areas that I think are really important to the future development of our profession. I think that there are things that are occurring at monumental speed at this particular time. And I think that if we pay attention to them in chiropractic, we can be prepared and be able to offer better patient care along the way. Was thinking about a study that I saw that said that in the 1700s, a person was subjected to less information in a lifetime than what they would be subjected to in one issue of the New York Times Sunday edition. And so it pointed out to me along the way that while the world is constantly changing, it's been changing now at a pace that's exponential. And part of that change has been fueled by technology. And part of that change in the field of technology has really been accentuated over the last year and a half with COVID, because this pandemic accelerated everything at just super fast speed. And I hope when we get done with the presentation, this will all make sense and shows that there are some openings that we can take care of and take advantage of that will allow us to provide better patient care along the way. This is one of my favorite photographs. This is from 1949. It was the first computer of modern age computers. It was a 2-year project that started obviously in 1947. This computer could use 20 words and it weighed 30 tons. One of the major problems with computers back then like this, so they took up an entire room, was not only that they used 200 megawatts of hour to be able to run, but more importantly, one of the major dangers was that they started fires frequently because of all the transistors, et cetera. And then this is another character. I keep him front and center in my photo file. This is a man named Michael Cooper. He was the person who did the research on the cell phone at Motorola and was the first person on the planet to make an actual cell phone call. Interestingly enough, a little retribution. He called up the guy at another company that he was competing with to see who could get it out first. So what do these two have in common? Well, we've noticed that computers have changed a lot since 1949. Today, we have a computer that is exponentially bigger than the computer that I showed you from 1949. And yet, rather than taking up a room, it literally resides on a chip and can be strapped to your wrist. And then, of course, you add into this equation the ability to communicate via computers. 1973, Martin Cooper made the first call. In 2007, June 29th, there were people camping out, thousands of them across the world, waiting for the first iPhone to be delivered. They wanted to be right outside the Apple store so that when the store opened, they could be one of the people that got the few phones that were produced, and certainly be able to say at some point, I had the original one. I was one of the first. But, you know, we kind of sometimes think that the iPhones that we use every day are something that has always been around. iPhone's only been around for about 14 years. And what's more important, I have always felt we shouldn't call them iPhones, we should call them iComputers, because being able to call on them is just one of the minor features of the entire apparatus. And then in 1999, Nokia released the first app. It was a app version of the popular game at the time called Snake. And so when you combine computers and phones and apps, all of a sudden you opened up a world that, while some people, especially young people, children especially, live in that kind of world, for some of us, we've watched literally a transformation occur right in front of our eyes. And what this has resulted in the area of healthcare is what we call remote patient management. The ability to manage a patient at a distance using an app in most cases. In this case, I'm going to refer to one that we produced called MLIQ, My Lifestyle IQ. I'm not trying to sell you an app today, but it certainly is a way that I can make some points along the way as we're talking about it. So here's an interesting thing. Carvana, you know, is this company. It has no showrooms. It has a big glass cylinder and it has cars stacked on top of it. And I had a friend the other day, we were watching a sports program, and at halftime, he ordered a car online, and the car was delivered within 48 hours to his front doorstep. Never met a person, never went into a showroom. Same with Lending Tree. You've seen the commercials, someone sitting around in their underwear on their couch at home, having 5 different mortgage companies compete for their business. Banking has changed dramatically, not only during the course of my lifetime, but it's going to continue to change. By the year 2034, the American Banking Association says there will be no branch banks left anywhere in the United States, not one. Everything will be being done online. White Plains Hospital is indicative of what's going on in the medical world. They have an entire division called Hospital at Home. It's an app, and they're literally in the living rooms, bedrooms, workplaces of over 50% of the people that enter the hospital. There's a medical school that no longer has classes, in-person classes. The entire program is online. They only get together to do the clinical applications. I could continue on with this. You get the idea. Apple Watch has gotten into the world of health now. You can have a complete electrocardiogram while you're on vacation in the Caribbean simply by the watch that's strapped to your arm. So this isn't just about remote patient management. We really have reached a situation where we're doing remote life management to a large degree. But tonight we're talking about healthcare. And so this is what we know about medicine, which, as I said earlier, is in the homes of our patients, in their minds 24/7. 20% of all medical visits last year were telehealth visits. 75% of the hospitals across the United States use RPMs, and 50% of the patients in those hospitals are being placed on RPMs. I mentioned the White Plains Hospital program, Hospital at Home. In 2018, before this accelerated because of COVID, we were already spending $12 billion a year, and 50% of medical doctors were managing patients via some type of app. In 2016, there were 350,000 televisits to medical doctors, and televisits are just one small aspect, a subcategory, if you will, of remote patient management. This year, according to CNBC, there will be 1 billion televisits to healthcare practitioners. Now, you and I both know that the adjustment creates magic in people's lives. We know, for example, that it alters cervical curves sometimes within hours after a patient receiving an adjustment. The work by Scott Rosa and Demazian, who was a Nobel nominee for creating the standing MRI, are doing research on the effects of upper cervical adjustment and how it alters cerebral spinal flow, which also then alters MS and neurodegenerative diseases. Heidi Havik, for example, has shown that when we give an adjustment, the frontal lobe begins to light up like a Christmas tree. So that what we're doing is not just affecting peripheral nerves, we're affecting the basic core structures of the nerve system itself. This is an x-ray taken from my chiropractor's office. You notice it's a military neck. There's disc degeneration, the lower part of the spine, some lipping and spurring. And here's the post adjustment. By the way, same day, just a few hours after the adjustment was given. Here's another spine, self-explanatory, post adjustment, the same day after the adjustment's given. Now, they may not always be this dramatic, but on the other hand, we know that chiropractic not only alters the function of the spine, but in so doing alters how it's impacting the nervous system. We also know that this has a huge impact in healthcare costs. This is from the state of New Hampshire, where they pay the healthcare cost of their state employees. In 2014, they were spending $7,000 a year per employee. But if that employee was under chiropractic care, not only, not exclusively, not as the gatekeeper, just anywhere in the equation chiropractic care was involved, the cost dropped to $2,000 per person.
All right. That was Dr. Guy Reikeman speaking about remote patient management. I got it out correctly that time at Axis 2021. And he brought up just a variety of fantastic examples of how technology has changed the landscape and or is changing the landscape in so many industries. Healthcare is no exception. We've seen it, the tip of the iceberg, with everybody moving from paper to EHRs, but remote patient management is going to be an area of supreme opportunity. And I say opportunity meaning it's a great way to connect with your patients at a deeper level. It's a fantastic way to track their progress and results. Are they reaching the benefits, the goals, the health goals that they had when they came into your practice? And it enables you to document it in the process. So I'm super excited at where this part of the healthcare industry is moving towards. They've made the investment. They've already built some of that IP. So I'm super excited to see what Dr. Reikeman and his team can compile over the coming years. Jason, what are some of your thoughts on it?
You know, I'm just always impressed by Guy's vision for the future and his ability throughout his career to really stay ahead of the curve. He was the one who, literally invented patient education by getting celebrities in the 70s to do VHS videotapes talking about chiropractic care so people could watch them. In fact, the joke back then was that they had to give away the VCR because people would spend $3,000 for the videos without having a VCR at the time. And so they'd include the player with the tapes. This is yet another evolutionary jump. And, his reference to, Lending Tree and the other new digitally based experiences because of the internet is right on. Even, he predicted this, but I'll even go so far as to say now, after the pandemic, it's unanimous that telehealth is here to stay and will continue to grow and basically expand as time goes on. And what Guy's put together is a way for chiropractors to really be a part of that technological revolution. There's rarely the institutional support that modern medicine has to bring these types of profession-wide type programs. That doesn't mean everybody does it. It just means that there's lots of money to create big businesses with lots of doctors participating in these things, primarily pharmaceutical drugs or medical devices. But and chiropractors tend to be more of an individual mom and pop type of a profession. Guy's done an amazing job, and hopefully this will be, an opportunity for thousands of chiropractors to start implementing this type of technology to stay up with consumer demand. And that's really the name of the game. This is not about, oh, I need another widget, or here's another cool way to make a few bucks. It is to be there to meet, I'll dare say exceed, patient demand. And that is where we are at, between Apple Watches and other biometrics and so on. Having your doctor, as in your chiropractor, be able to help keep you on track to reach your goals is a old concept with a new technology and hopefully a brand new modern application. Kudos to Guy for going for it decade after decade after decade.
I could not agree more. Thank you, Dr. Reikeman, for presenting in Axis 2021. And docs listening and watching, be on the lookout for our announcements coming up regarding Axis 2022. Let's head over to our Research That Matters segment on today's Smart Chiropractor Show. Hello and welcome to the Research That Matters segment on today's Smart Chiropractor Show. Research That Matters is when we take a few moments each and every week to highlight the monthly campaigns and weekly topics that our smart chiropractors are discussing and talking about in their practice. We believe in a philosophy and strategy of teach and invite consistently. We execute that through a variety of automations across the most popular channels your patients are engaging with: social, email, website, and much more. It is May 2022, which means our monthly campaign is all around the topic of posture. We say posture is the science of body positioning. And our weekly topic that ties into that monthly campaign is the question, is there a perfect posture? And the reason that that is framed that way is if you type that in, you're going to see millions upon millions of responses because there is high demand to receive an answer to that question. So we want you, and definitely all of our Smart Chiropractor members, to be leading that conversation and leading the answers to those questions in your community. How do you do that? Going to tie it right back around. You do that by teaching and inviting consistently. So when we analyze this question and we say, is there a perfect posture? The goal of this is not for you, I'm going to say necessarily, to give a definitive answer. The way that I've approached it personally, and we've approached it through the Smart Chiropractor, is this is an ongoing conversation. Is there a perfect posture? Well, there might be an ideal posture for each individual, but perhaps not a perfect posture for everyone. Now, why do I say that? I say that because we always look at the balance between strength and flexibility. And with posture, we look at the balance between static and dynamic. There's something to be said for static posture and understanding where people are in a moment in time. But that has to be played against the dynamic posture. What are their movement patterns? And that ties into what are their activities? What does their daily life look like on the job? What do they enjoy doing? What's their sleep positions? All of these things that I think intuitively we ask and analyze as chiropractors, but maybe don't piece together into the larger conversation around posture with our patients. And the goal of this week's topic, tying into our monthly campaign of the science of body positioning, is to prompt our doctors, to prompt all of us as chiropractors to answer the question in the best way possible. And that the answer might be another question. And exploring that is one of the most important things we can do. So clearly, if patients are coming in and they are jacked up, they have one shoulder like this, they have a hip hike going on, they are antalgic, there are extremes of this, of course. And those things should be addressed very, very directly. But with your patients that are moving pretty well, that are feeling pretty well, that don't have any gross abnormality on the outside, I think it's important to dive into the nuance of this with them and help them understand that posture isn't just about how you stand and it isn't just about how you move. It's the intersection of both of those items and tying that to your lifestyle and your health goals. And that's a simple way to explain the importance of posture to all of your patients, to your community, and help people build that bridge between what's going on with their posture and the benefits of the care that you can provide. Jason, it's posture month. It's all about, is there a perfect posture? I'll put you on the spot. What's your answer?
Is there? Well, let's see. Maybe there is for me. So this is a great topic, and I just want to elaborate a little bit. Thank you for covering sort of the didactic, tactical approach to talking about posture. But as you know, there's two types of clients that are part of the Smart Chiropractor. There are those that we basically say are looking to set it and forget it. They want us to do the work for them. They know that they're not going to do email campaigns and social media posts, and they're just not going to do it. So for those of you that are in the set it and forget it category, well, it's been set. And just remember that this month, everybody who's connected to your email and social channels will be learning about posture. This week, of course, asking, is there a perfect posture on their newsletter? Now, on the other end of the spectrum, there are what we refer to as the content creators, those of you that want to be influencers online, those of you that are willing to put forth a little bit of effort to teach and invite consistently, but are smart because you want to build upon the technology and the content we create for you. And so this is where you can sort of think of these topics like in basketball, where you have a pivot foot, right? You got one foot on the ground that doesn't move, but you can move the other foot in a lot of different places. You can move around. Well, what am I saying? What I'm saying is that posture is the pivot foot, but you can take this topic and make it mean a lot of different things. Let me throw out some ideas. For those of you that are chiropractors who are content creators, looking to build an audience, looking to talk to the people who are following you about whatever most resonates with you, here's a variety of different sort of ways you can approach this topic. So posture means a lot of different things in a lot of different ways. One way to approach it is if you go online, if you watch podcasts, if you're in the internet learning world of any kind, you might have come across the name Jordan Peterson. Jordan Peterson several years ago became an internet phenomenon. He's a clinical psychologist out of Canada. He's become extremely popular because of the internet and because of his particular views. He wrote a book called The 12 Laws of Life, I believe it's called. And wouldn't you know that rule number one, right? The 12 rules of life, rule number one is stand up straight with your shoulders back and have good posture. That was rule number one. Now, if you do any research, you look into why he said it, you learn from him about kind of what was the philosophy behind that being the first rule of life, you will recognize, you will learn that the reason he made it first, the first rule, this isn't the 12th rule, it's the number one rule, is because this is how we present to the world. That both as far as how people perceive us, shoulders back, tall versus slumped over, both in terms of how the world perceives us, but also how our brains have learned to perceive ourselves. All of you could predict my emotion if you saw me with this type of posture versus if you saw me with this type of posture. You could tell me what I'm thinking and feeling based on my posture. So if you want to get out and start to share with people about how their posture affects their mood and their attitude and how people perceive them, that's an option. You could also approach posture from this whole concept of kids and mobile devices and head cranked down and the poor posture our children are growing up with because of sitting at desks, staring at screens, chin to chest, staring at our mobile devices, maybe not just our kids, ourselves included. So that's another way you can start talking about posture in different ways, all depending on who your audience is. Who are you talking to? If you're talking to parents, you might want to talk about, the impact posture has on kids. If you're talking to others, if you're more of a coach, you want to help people succeed, you may talk about Jordan Peterson and how people see us differently based on our posture. I just put it out there because the goal is to use the topics we provide as the basic ingredients for you to be able to teach what you want to teach most. And these topics are designed to be flexible like that. So sort of in closing, right, we think of what we provide very much like kind of karaoke, all right? And so karaoke can either be sung exactly the way the original artist wanted it sung, or you can take the words, read the words, and you can make them yours in your own particular way and come up with sometimes something even better than the original artist. That's the goal of what our content is all about. This month's Research That Matters is a big topic, posture. Take these concepts, use them month after month after month. If it's set it and forget it, now you know what's going out for you. If you're a content creator and you want to get creative, these are great starting points for you to start getting creative and making these topics unique to you and your voice and your practice.
Very well said, Jason. I could not agree more. Get out there and teach and invite consistently, and think about those monthly campaigns. Think about those topics that Jason just described that can make an impact in your community that tie to the benefits you can offer your patients. Your patients in your community have a lot of questions about posture. The only question is, are you leading the conversation and the answers? So let's take a look at what this looks like in action during our Member Highlights segment. Hello and welcome to the Member Highlights segment on today's Smart Chiropractor show. Member Highlights is pretty self-explanatory. It is when we highlight a Smart Chiropractor member that is utilizing our teach and invite consistently strategy and philosophy, and you get to see it in action. So if you're a doc out there curious and you're saying, I like a lot of what you guys are talking about, but I'm not sure how this practically works, Member Highlights is a great chance. Stick around for the next few minutes because we're going to highlight a doc, Dr. Scott Stiffey of Proactive Chiropractic Center, who's been doing a fantastic job utilizing Smart Chiropractor content in a unique way. I'm going to share my screen right now. And we're going to head over to Dr. Scott's LinkedIn profile. So with the Smart Chiropractor, we discuss a lot about email, about social, about website, blogs, etc. But for many docs out there, LinkedIn is a great avenue where you can get engagement, where you can curate some attention, and you can build an audience. And Dr. Scott has done that, and he is utilizing all of his Smart Chiropractor content to fill his feed on LinkedIn. Now, one of the things you're going to notice here as I scroll down his profile and his activity feed is that almost every single piece of content he's putting out is gaining engagement. And I love to see that. I know a lot of docs out there are concerned about the engagement on social platforms. So what I always say is don't be concerned about the engagement. Be consistent so you can gain reach, which is one of the most important things. However, if you are curious about a place where you can see that engagement, if you're just desiring that engagement, utilize some of your Smart Chiropractor materials on LinkedIn. It's fertile ground. I don't think you're going to get as much reach as you will across your social channels, which is what I'm more interested in. But hey, you can do a little bit of both. We're supplying you with everything you need to do exactly what Dr. Scott is, as you can see on the screen right now, showcasing Teach and Invite, showcasing his monthly campaigns, his weekly topics, and his daily posts. Some of them he's keeping organically or natively on LinkedIn. Others, he's linking out to his Facebook page. He's linking out to his website. He's doing a great job utilizing the material that we're providing in a unique way to build his brand, to build his audience, and to increase engagement. Jason, what are your thoughts?
I think it's great. We love to see, people taking action. We say it over and over again, results follow action. We talked in an earlier mentor segment about Roger Bannister. And the reason we often highlight these examples is both to give credit and acknowledge those who are doing it. Kudos to you, Scott. But it's also to show all of you what's possible. And to your point, Jeff, about people wanting engagement, there's some interesting ways of thinking about that point specifically. Number one, there's lots of people that see posts regularly that just don't click like or leave a comment or engage very much. But that is not a very good metric as to whether or not people see what you're putting out there. My message to those that want more engagement is to be more engaging. A picture by itself is not going to create that type of engagement. They'll go, that's beautiful, that's nice, that's true. Thanks for that kind message. What a great thing to consistently put this out every day for my benefit so I can stay more positive. I can stay on track with my health. That's what they think. That may not be what they engage. If you want more engagement, Be more engaging. You can always, instead of just looking and going, how come nobody said anything? This isn't working. You can always leave your comments first and leave them as a question. Be more engaging, meaning if there's a post that we post for you and you would like more engagement, share that post yourself with people yourself. You can do that. Leave a comment or question below. Leave your thoughts down below. Invite your staff, your team, your favorite patients who come on in. Invite people to engage. When you see this much engagement, unless you're a Kardashian or a Mike Tyson or somebody who's famous, who's been engaging in other ways already, then this doesn't happen by itself. There are tactics that make these things work. And if you just fall back to the universal principles of the universe, there is a give and take relationship. And typically you got to do the giving before you do the taking or receiving. And so that's my message for those of you that want more engagement. Have fun with it. This is a long game. The goal is not to meet the numbers. The goal is to stay consistent, planting seeds over and over and over again. Personally, the numbers are somewhat irrelevant. Why? Because whatever the number is, in my personal world, it's never enough because you're never there. If you got 2 engagements, you want 20. If you got 20, you want 200. If you got 200, you want 2,000, and on and on and on and on. It just doesn't end. So stop thinking it's going to end and stop waiting for the validation to go, yeah, okay, I'll keep doing it. It's working. It works when you stay consistent. That's just the message you'll see everywhere these days. Consistency is the new intensity, and it's in the marathon, not the sprint, that you get there. So, Scott, great job. Thanks for taking action. Thanks for letting us highlight you. If you are doing something great and we haven't acknowledged you for it, would you private message us or leave it down below so we can highlight you and what you're doing? We love to do it, and we love to show other people what's possible. So if you are a Roger Bannister of sorts and you're doing something that you think is exceptional, is unique, that you actually wish other chiropractors were doing too, because you know collectively that's how we're going to reach the masses, let us know so we can highlight you as well. Jeff, great job, and thanks for finding Scott.
Well, great job, Scott, and keep up the fantastic work getting out there, teaching and inviting consistently. Your audience is going to thank you for it, and your practice will see the results as you continue to take action. Let's over to our featured guest segment on today's Smart Chiropractor Show. Welcome to the featured guest segment on today's Smart Chiropractor Show. Today's featured guest is known as Dr. Sok. We're talking with Alan Sokoloff. He is the president of the Professional Football Chiropractic Society. He has a ton of experience in this realm, and we discuss NFL chiropractic with Dr. Alan Sokoloff. This is an awesome conversation. Please stick around and enjoy the questions that we were fortunate to be able to ask of Dr. Alan Sokoloff. Hey docs, Dr. Jeff Langmaid here with my co-host Dr. Jason Deitch, and today we have a special featured guest on the show. We have Dr. Alan Sokoloff, a practicing chiropractor, president of the Professional Football Chiropractic Society, and educator around the world. Alan, thanks for taking some time and chatting with us.
Thank you for allowing me to chat with you guys. I've been looking forward to it.
Our pleasure. So I always like to trace back first question, a little bit of origin story. You're obviously deeply vested in sports chiropractic. What started the passion? How did things begin for you?
I think I've always had a passion for it because I saw it as a way for me to get patients back in the day. Plus, I played sports in high school, played a little in college, and taking care of each other at the. I went to Palmer College, and taking care of each other, playing rugby, I saw a lot of benefit to it. When I got out of school, I started working with the college that I went to school at University of Maryland, Baltimore County. And then from there, everything started to blossom because that was my passion. That was my reason for coming to work every day. And that was my variety, so I wouldn't have to do the same thing every day.
That is awesome. You are now the president of, if I got it right, the professional football, as in the NFL, right? Professional Football Chiropractic Society. What do people need to know about it? It seems to me like the best kept secret in our profession. You guys are working with the highest profile athletes, at least in America, if not the world.
Yeah.
How did that all come about?
So it's interesting that you use those words, best kept secret. About 15 years ago, I've been with the Baltimore Ravens for 22 years. And I had the opportunity to work with some of the elite athletes that you've spoken about. And I'm figuring, you know what, there's got to be other people like me. So through a series of reaching out and networking, I found out that there were others like me. And I'm going to date myself here. There used to be something called the National Aerobic Championships, the Reebok National Crystal Light back in the day. And some of those same people that I developed a sport network for to treat these athletes around the country were involved in football also. We decided to get together back in 2000 formally and kind of introduce ourselves to each other. What are you doing? What's happening? Well, fast forward, we formed the organization. We're a nonprofit organization, and we have three main goals or three main mission statements. Number one, kind of selfishly, help each other, better understand what we do, who we're doing it with, help new guys with the ins and outs. Number two, and these are not in any importance order, but number two is to be able to take the information that we gain at the level that we're gaining it and pass it on to other chiropractors. That's why we have the Professional Football Chiropractic Society Sports Symposium, because there we have the opportunity to do that and so much more. But then number three is equally as important, is to help educate the public of what we're learning at that level. And whether we do it directly to the public in the areas where we're from, or we do it through the different chiropractors and students that attend our conference, we're able to accomplish our three-pronged mission statement. So that's kind of the purpose. And oh, by the way, it's a lot of fun too.
I think that's awesome. I'd love to know the biggest differences. I think back, this seems so organic in its growth, and I know every team is a sort of its own business. And what's the biggest difference you've seen from when you started 22 years ago with in the NFL to today? Because it seems like there's a lot more infrastructure, there's a lot more docs, and a lot more opportunity. But when you look at it and you look back from the inside, what was maybe the biggest change or two that you've noticed? And I'm talking specifically relative to chiropractic roles within these organizations.
So, and that's a great question too. I think the biggest thing is utilization. We are utilized now more than ever. There's a document that the Physicians Society in the NFL came out with as to who should be on an NFL sideline, and chiropractors are listed there. We went through a time during COVID where they limited the number, when there were no fans in the stands, they limited the number of people on the sidelines, but we were still there. Why? Because not only for the job that we would do, but to have the ability to help out and work in other areas that may not be your job normally. Sports chiropractors have the ability to be chameleons and fit in wherever we have to and do whatever we have to, leaving our ego at the door.
Alan, I'd love to, whatever degree you're able to sort of share what it's like to be an NFL chiropractor for a team, whether it's your experience or the collective experience of the other docs. Number one, is it true that every NFL team does have a chiropractor on staff? Is that an accurate statement?
So your number one accurate statement is true, but they're all working in different capacities. Some are held on retainer, some are consultants, some are referred to outside of the organization, some cover game day, some, like myself, do all of it. It's myself and two other chiropractors actually working with the Baltimore Ravens. And we all know what our lanes are. We all know what our jobs are. We provide regular chiropractic care at the facility during the season, at least 3 days a week. Plus we have game day. or game weekends. We cover home and away, but that's not the same everywhere else. Same with the preseason and the off season. To a certain degree, we're providing some sort of regular care.
Is this a position that, do you travel with the team separately? Are you getting there super early in providing care pre-game, in-game, post-game? I guess I know there's probably no such thing as a typical day, but so many young docs out there I know are passionate and interested, and I'd love to know from the inside what you've seen.
Right. So the Reader's Digest version of all that is, if it's a home game, we're there 4 hours before at least. I get there early enough to warm my body up. I do a majority of my treatment before. There are some things that may be done on the sideline, some things done at halftime. And then after the game, depending on whether you win or lose, determines how much work you have. Because if you lose, everything hurts. When you win, you feel a little better, so maybe not. But the away games, I travel with our team. And whenever they're leaving, I'm leaving. If we go to the West Coast, we normally leave on a Friday for a Sunday game. Otherwise, we leave the day before. We provide treatments the night before. We provide treatments the day and that morning, and then provide treatment at the stadium in the same fashion that we just spoke about. One of the incredible things is when a game is done, within 1 hour after a game, all those treatments are done. Athletic trainers are phenomenal and are the bomb at this level because they've got everyone treated, packed up, and we're heading to the airport within an hour after a game. So it is the true definition of organized chaos, but done so well with every different part of the organization. I'm very fortunate to do what I do.
I would say so too. I've got tons of questions. I know everybody else is trying to, ask and understand as well. I'll try to keep them as relevant as I can.
No problem.
Do you see? I mean, I don't see many adjusting tables on the sidelines. Is that not allowed, or is that fraud upon, or what do you do on the sidelines during a game? I guess beyond sort of advice and checking to see if people need to, I guess, go back to the treatment room, or how does it work?
It's almost like a mini HMO back in the day, where everything is basically done through the head athletic trainer and through the team physician. And then they help determine, okay, you need to see the chiropractor, you need to see the physical therapist, you need to see the orthopedist, you need to see the strength and conditioning guys. And we do all that on the sideline in real time, and you don't need a referral or anything like that. Everything happens quickly. As to where the treatment's done could really depend. It can be done on a bench, but now we have fancy blue tents where things can be done there. Depending on how much needs to be done and how complex, you can go back to the locker room and do it as well. And a lot of it depends on timing, who's on the field, how quickly do you need to get that athlete back out.
One of the things that I've found fascinating kind of just watching, I wouldn't consider myself to be a top tier sports chiropractor, but watching the docs that are is, I always think of the intersection between sports performance, and it's sort of the irony, and I'm interested in your experience with this. I always look at, there's so many people out there in the public that are afraid to get adjusted for, back pain, yet many professional athletes are utilizing chiropractic almost exclusively for performance, related issues, and benefits in many cases. Has that been an evolution that you've witnessed internally? Am I correct with that? Is it mostly about performance and less about pain? Is it a hybrid of all of the above? What have you seen?
I'm going to go with D, a hybrid of all of the above, with a heavy emphasis on performance enhancement. Look, if pre-game, if I'm treating 20, 30, 35 guys before a game, all of them aren't hurting. They're looking to optimize their performance, to move and function better. Myself, as well as the other athletic trainers and physicians, are doing the same thing before a game starts. We're not taking care of pain. It's performance enhancement and function, which is ideally what we do in our profession. So it is a natural fit. And again, that goes back to why I think sports chiropractic is so important. How else do you tell the lay person, hey, you should be getting adjusted for X, Y, and Z before you perform, whether it's a weekend warrior playing tennis or in a softball league, you can perform and function better just like the professionals do. And you know what? Here in my office, it's the same hands touching those people as are touching the pro athletes. And it's the same philosophy. I'm going to do whatever I can to get you back on your field. Your field may be around the corner. Your field may be in the stadium. But that's how I think we as a profession can continue to evolve and grow through sports.
That's exactly where I'd like to go next, Alan, which is what is currently, I guess, being done? What would you like to see happen as far as exactly that, maybe profession-wide? I mean, obviously, I'm sure this has been extremely beneficial for your personal practice, but I think if most people knew that, you know, many of the people on the field are getting adjusted for performance-related issues, not just because it hurts or because they got a symptom they're responding to. How can the NFL, how can the profession be promoting what's going on more? Because it seems to me like this is the best kept secret in the entire profession. I mean, we're all wondering why chiropractic isn't more mainstream. And here you are taking care of some of the most popular people in the world. What do you see the opportunity being to sort of bring this message to the masses?
So I think doing things like we're doing right now, though, what we're doing may be geared towards chiropractors and not the public. Hopefully it educates those chiropractors to be able to get out in front of the public. Look, my passion is doing just what I'm telling you. I have a couple of speaking gigs in different states and including the Professional Football Chiropractic Society conference coming up at the first weekend of March, which, oh, by the way, is almost sold out, best kept secret. We have to keep figuring out how can we keep growing, but grow in quality. Let me give you an example. There's a team in the NFL. They went through 5 chiropractors in 4 years. Does that mean chiropractic doesn't work? Or maybe they're just not getting the right people. And I think, from a practice standpoint, colleges do a great job of teaching us to be the king of our office, to make decisions, to take responsibility. I don't think they're the best at teaching us to play in a sandbox together, where you can work together as a team, leave your ego at the door, which is why a lot of chiropractors fail, which is why I love to get out and teach that stuff. You guys have access to some of the best academians and adjusters in the world. I'm on the other side of that. I'm on the social side of what can we as a profession continue to do at a collegiate, at a professional, Olympic, high school, rec, peewee level to educate parents, athletes, and kids. Like I'm doing a speaking gig in Michigan for their conference in Traverse City coming up. And I literally sat down, I put a slide together today, a slide. You can tell I'm old, I'm still friggin' making slides. So, and it's a picture of a kid that I treated as a kid who went to the University of Maryland and who I treated there, who I ended up treating because he became a member of the Baltimore Ravens. We're at the most visible part of our profession, working in the NFL, but it's every single chiropractor that touches a kid at that young age, that educates the parent, that makes them demand it when they get to the next level, which is why almost every college now has a team chiropractor. So you ask me, what would I like to see? Every stinking college should have a team chiropractor, and most of them do. But it goes so far behind it's got to start in the rec leagues, and then everything just flows up, and then we get to see it on the big screen, and then that's when we get to refer back to the younger ones to say, hey, look what's happening up here. Let's keep this thing going.
That is powerful, and you might answer my question with saying the story that you just sort of elaborated on. But what's been a favorite moment throughout your time of being a sports chiropractor? Watching somebody grow up and play in the NFL must be up there. But what's maybe a highlight or two that comes to mind if we ask you?
But we put our hands on a lot of people. And I have one of my favorite stories that I tell. We went to the Super Bowl in New Orleans. where we played the San Francisco 49ers back in 2012. And we had all these stories are rushing in my head. So this should be like a 2-hour show, and we'll get it on Netflix, and we'll anyway. So it was a guy that I was one of our more predominant players that I was treating throughout the week, and everything's going great. And then the morning of the Super Bowl was on Sunday. They had taken my table from the training room and brought it to the stadium. And that same guy came in and he's like, Doc, you've been working with me and I got this thing up here and it's kind of bothering me. And I'm like, well, this is one of those chameleon things. You don't have an adjusting table. Where are you going to adjust? So I put a sheet down on the ground, and he had an anterior thoracic that, oh my gosh, this is why it's bothering you. But laying him on the ground and having the entire training staff standing around, and the doctors and coach, whoever was in there was standing around staring, and I laid him down to adjust him, and so like, boom, and in his fashion, in his voice, unlike mine, he said, "Oh my God!" So like, and my heart's going like this, and everybody else is like, it's like one of those E.F. Hutton things, and he goes, "That pain is gone, it's gone." So I was like, of course it is. Just good luck tonight. I'll see you later before the game. So fast forward, we go to the game. That was the game that the lights went out in the stadium. I tripped over the extension cord. So then we win the game. Now we're at a post-game party. This is like 4 a.m, whatever. And I saw this athlete across the room, and we like approached each other like it was on a beach in slow motion with Bo Derek, and we're in this embracing hug. And he said, "Thank you for that adjustment earlier. That was one thing I didn't have to think about, playing in the pain." And I'm like, he remembered that adjustment from, you just played in a Super. And that's the power of what we do that a lot of people don't understand, even at the highest level, that if he remembered that from hours ago, a day ago, and it meant that much to him, it makes me rethink about every adjustment. Every time I touch somebody, I can make a difference in what that person does today. And it's kind of a warm feeling. And you're right, I got more stories like that. So part 2, we'll take care of that.
I look forward to part 2. Before we wrap up, just because we want to be respectful of your time, you did mention you've got an event coming up. It happens to be at the NFL Combine, which itself has to be very cool to watch, learn, see, experience. Spend some time really laying out, what type of chiropractor should be coming to your event. What's your vision for the kind of organization? Where do you see it going? Where would you like it to go? And who would you like to be there learning from you in order to be able to continue to grow with you?
Right. This will be part 3, but no, we'll help you guys wrap this up. So it is held every single year. The pandemic has kind of put a little damper on it. Last year was virtual. The year before, 2020, was right when everything was starting. We got that event in, sold out. And for years building up, we got busier, sold out. And then, oh my gosh, pandemic, now we're going to have to build back up. But now we're built back up. So the event, we send out invites to not only chiropractors, but to students. And every year we have to limit the number of students because every student wants to get involved. That's what I'm talking about by starting at a grassroots level and be able to educate on up. So there are chiropractors and students there. We have great vendors, great support through sponsorship. But we have different speakers that are both in the NFL and outside the NFL. Talking about what's being done at all these different levels. It's not the usual seminar where you hear the same kind of speakers go on. No, it's very different. And we sometimes, because we are held at the same time as the NFL Combine, that we are able to pull people and different coaches and athletes to come speak. And when you're out walking on the streets, you never know who you're going to run into. But it's just a great opportunity. Who should go? Anyone that wants to be involved in sports, football or not. And it's one of those conferences that when you go, you're not just paying attention to what the speaker is saying. You can't wait till a break time so you could. Everybody talks. Oh my gosh, that guy was so nice. He told me that, blah, 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 and he gave me advice, blah, 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 and I didn't know I should be documenting that. So it's just a fun learn fest and great camaraderie. And it's great for all of us. It's selfishly Thursday. We get in on Thursday. We get to hang out with each other. We have our annual meeting. And then the conference is Friday, Saturday. So the whole weekend is just very enjoyable.
It sounds absolutely awesome. We're going to encourage everybody listening and watching. Be sure to check it out this year and the following years. I'm sure it will continue to evolve. And Alan, everybody heard it. You've already committed to a part 2, so you can't get out of it now. We'll come back around to you later on in this year for sure. We really appreciate you taking the time. And I'm just going to say on behalf of Jason, myself, and our entire team, thank you so much for spearheading what has helped so many docs, help that many more people. You're awesome, and thank you for taking the time.
Thank you.
Fascinating interview with Dr. Alan Sokoloff of the Professional Football Chiropractic Society. Awesome guy doing awesome things. Please check out their website, their Facebook page, engage with those docs. And if you are looking to do that in your chiropractic future, get to know the process. These guys are awesome. Many of them are willing to share. So get engaged, get involved. Jason, I loved the interview.
You know, I think this is one of what I'll refer to as one of the best kept secrets in our profession. There's just so much social credibility with what they're doing at truly the highest cultural level. I mean, it's the NFL, baseball, apple pie, football. It's what we all look to as the American way. And here there are chiropractors, traveling, working with these teams. I think it would be something more people would deserve to know. And kudos to Alan for staying with it for so long. This is not an overnight success. This is decades in the making, as they say. Congratulations to him. And I think there's a lot more great stuff to come. I hope more chiropractors continue to participate and grow.
Indeed. Thank you, Dr. Alan Sokoloff, for coming on and sharing. And please stay tuned if you're listening and watching. We have ridiculously awesome interviews coming up week after week. I think we've done about 40 interviews, so we have many, many more to come. And if you missed any of the previous ones, be sure to check back on our YouTube channel because they've been fantastic. Our guests have been awesome. They show those Roger Bannister moments, as Jason likes to say, of what's possible in our profession, and there's just so much to be gleaned. But on today's show, we're going to move into our strategic marketing segment. Here we go. Strategic marketing on today's Smart Chiropractor show. We're going to spend a few minutes. This is going to be a quick one, but I wanted to discuss how you can collect more emails and convert more of your website traffic into new patients in your practice. Almost every doc out there at this point has a website. If you don't, I don't know what to tell you, but you need to have a website. Many docs are spending $100, $1,000, somewhere in between on their website each and every month. And generally, that does pretty good. It's one of the primary acquisition channels. As a matter of fact, we know chiropractors typically get between 500 to 1,000 website visitors each and every month. That is awesome. That is something to celebrate. However, my question to you, doc, listening and watching, is how many new patients came into your practice last month and the month before? Probably not 500 or 1,000. You probably have a huge delta, 20 patients, 30 new patients, maybe even 60 new patients. Hundreds of people visited your website and went away. This is why having an email opt-in on your website is so critically important, and it ties to the title and headline of this segment. Having an email opt-in helps you collect more emails so that you can follow up, teach and invite consistently, and ultimately convert more of those website visitors to patients. And when I use the word conversion, I use it because it's the correct business word. But don't confuse conversion with bait and switch. Conversion is about teaching and inviting. It's about getting people onto that email list, perhaps even offering them a lead magnet or a piece of valuable information in exchange for their email, and then following up with a campaign that continues to open their eyes to who you are and what you do and how you can benefit them most importantly, and showcase why you may be the right fit for them based upon their interests. The more fine-tuned and the more linear you are with that, and the more consistent, is going to yield fantastic results. This is not something that generates 50 new patients tomorrow. Probably doesn't even generate 50 new patients in a month or two. But from a long-term strategic perspective, there is no better thing you can do than collect email addresses on your website to continue to build your list. We say the money's in the list. And then convert those patients by delivering fantastic content over time. Jason?
You know, Jeff, you really opened up a really important box for chiropractors to hopefully lean into and want to learn more about, because as we've and soon to be releasing our payday practice concept, what more and more doctors are going to realize is that, like many businesses realize, and you've just mentioned, is that their asset is in their email list, the ability to communicate with people on a consistent basis for free. All right, that's the benefit of your email list, is you earned it. We're not talking about buying a list. We're talking about people who legitimately said, here's my email address. As Jeff said, you know, perhaps in exchange for some more information. That's the way it works on the internet. We do it all the time. You might have done it in order to be able to get on our lists, and so we can stay in touch with you. That's how it works. The whole point is you should be doing it too. And so when you earn an email list, that means that people do have the ability to opt out of any time. Then those are people that are expecting you to stay in touch with them with something valuable, something good that teaches them, as well as advises or invites them to take a next step, oftentimes based on what you taught them. That's really where the future of technology and practice is going. Stay tuned for the payday practice. Learn more about kind of the psychology of generating monthly recurring revenue to finance your future, so that when the day comes, not if, but when the day comes, that for whatever reason you don't make it into your physical practice and you still need to generate revenue anyway, having this type of email list strategy starting sooner rather than later. This is one of those momentum matters, and procrastination is a killer of dreams type thing. It's important that you start these things as early as possible. As Jeff said, the traffic is already coming to your website. Question one, where are all those other people going? One of the other things Jeff always teaches, he goes, nobody's cruising chiropractic websites just for fun. You know, they didn't get to your website just because they were, you know, looking for some entertainment. They were clearly interested in some particular way. I'll at least say most of them, maybe a random visitor here and there, but most of them found you because they were looking for you. Now that they found your website, but didn't maybe take the next step today, what next steps could they take if you stayed in touch with them? That's what we help you do. But you got to understand how the process works. And, you know, most chiropractors, you'd go, email list, what are you talking about? Well, you know, that information treasure trove you have in your EHR system on your computer, however you're keeping track of all of your patients. Oh, that thing, yeah. No, I don't stay in touch with them very often with very much, because I'm not sure why I would. And now we're teaching you why not only you would, but in this case, why you should. So hopefully you got some good ideas there. Keep on learning. No one segment's going to teach you everything you need to know. They're all bits and pieces, bite-sized chunks of the bigger picture, the bigger pie of opportunity. Look for the payday practice to learn more. But Jeff, great topic. This should be as they say, no-brainer, because most every chiropractor has a website. What they don't have is this power tool that they could and should be adding to their website they already have in order to be able to optimize and maximize the value of all that traffic of warm, interested people coming to find them as it is. So take that step.
For sure. And if you'd like to learn more about email marketing, visit the blog on the Smart Chiropractor. We have dozens of blogs literally devoted to this topic. So if you're curious about what to send, if you're curious about how to write a subject line, how to craft a great email, how to build a campaign, hit thesmartchiropractor.com, visit the blog, search email or whatever you want. You will find dozens of pieces to help guide the process step by step. Also awesome to share with your team. Let's head over to Business Principles, our final segment on today's Smart Chiropractor Show. Business Principles on the Smart Chiropractor Show. Today, we are going to be answering, or at least discussing, the question, did your dream practice get hijacked by your business? This is an important concept that I think not enough chiropractors have thought of, even though they're living it day in and day out. Jason?
You know, Jeff, we've been really talking a lot about what's going on in the profession, where are chiropractors, you know, what has happened. And I say that from the perspective of the two of us being around the profession for decades, both being in it, but also having kind of a first row seat watching it, not being in active practice, but working with chiropractors for decades now. We see it from a different perspective. And what we're seeing is that a lot of chiropractors have really shifted over into running a business, being an entrepreneur, really focusing their decision-making process first and foremost based on asking the question, what's most profitable? What will earn me the most amount of money? How do I do the least to get the most? Whether that's an insurance reimbursement tactic, whether that's should I invest in a particular technology that can provide a particular billable service, et cetera. We have somehow moved, and I guess I'll sort of set it up by saying, you know, there's the business owner whose job it is to make sure that you're generating as much revenue as you possibly can in the time you're in your business. Totally rational, absolutely. But there's also what I'm going to call the dreamer. The dreamer is the person who at one point in time had this crazy idea that I'm going to go to chiropractic school. I'm going to forego whatever potential future I have on the track that I'm on, and I'm going to pivot and I'm going to trade. I'm going to invest the time and energy in the near future going to school, meaning not really making any money, and yet also accumulating hundreds of thousands of dollars in debt simultaneously, only so 4 years later you can start a new business from scratch. At one point, we all thought that was a good idea, and it was probably because you had a vision for wanting to help people in a way that is unique and different, that you don't get at the hospital or at your local doc in the box on the corner, or even from the traditional medical system at large, that you had a vision, you had a dream, you had, whether you had an experience yourself or you just sort of got the big idea and all else is following. You had that moment, you said, I want to be a chiropractor, and you went through that process, although obviously you wouldn't be here. So if you're in practice, at one point you made that investment of your life, but somehow we have seen more and more chiropractors that have basically been slaves to their business. If you ask yourself the question, whether this is true for you or not, maybe it is, maybe it's not. But if you ask yourself the question, what was my dream practice when I dreamt about going to chiropractic school, graduating, and opening up this fill in the blank, your dream, your vision? Maybe it was to work for a mentor. Maybe it was to be involved with sports teams, as we've talked about, or work with a population of people, families, other countries. You had a dream that somehow inspired you to say, this is a good idea to go to school and accumulate debt. And the question is, are you living that dream that was so inspirational to make such a monumental decision? Are you living that dream, or has your dream been hijacked by this conversation of, okay, what's most profitable, right? I tried to tell people about my dream. They weren't buying it. Now I just don't have enough money to really afford any other way than what's going to pay me the most, because now I got a lifestyle, family to really also pay attention to. So priorities change. And so maybe you feel this way, I don't know, but ask yourself, am I making most of my decisions based on what's going to be most profitable for my business? And to what extent has that taken me away from the reason, purpose, vision, and dream I had of becoming a chiropractor? And what we're saying here is, it's now time to take control of your business so that you can practice your dream, not the other way around. And there are ways we're going to teach in the Payday Practice book soon to be coming out, which will be followed up by a webinar to learn more about what we're talking about, which will be followed up by a training for those of you that go, this is making sense to me. I want to learn more. I'm intrigued. This is interesting. What do you mean by take control of my business? What we mean by take control of your business is you have a fixed monthly recurring expense you may refer to as your overhead to keep your business operating, running. Staff, rent, insurance, all the other expenses it takes every month. You can predict the expenses you will have month after month after month after month. You could predict them. They're not going away. By definition, they're recurring. Why not start generating a recurring source of revenue to meet the guaranteed recurring expenses you have each and every month, so that there is an automatic freedom that's generated, because the money that's earned above your expenses is called your profit. So what if you approached your practice from a different viewpoint? What if you said, it's time for me to take back my practice dream and figure out, how do I generate enough recurring revenue to meet my business's monthly recurring expenses? And once I'm able to do that, I have freedom to work with who I want to work with, where I want to work with and where from, with who and with who out. Many of you work for third-party administrators, et cetera, insurance companies. You may not necessarily want to, but like we said, it's worth it, drives patients in, pays just enough. Sure, it's a hassle. And then you just get into the operations of going through the motions, and it's too big of a change to get out of it in some cases. So taking control of your business means generating a source of recurring revenue to meet your monthly recurring expenses every month. And there are 3 ways we will teach you how to do that in the Payday Practice book, webinar, future training coming out. What we're talking about is just starting with asking yourself the question, am I living my dream? Is the reason I decided to become a chiropractor, the dream and vision I had to have, like Michael Gerber refers to it as the E-myth, the entrepreneurial seizure. We have our own version of that, right? Like, hey, I got an idea. I'm going to take 4 years and go to school and accumulate hundreds of thousands of dollars in debt. Yeah, it was a good idea. But are you living your dream practice now? Or have you just resigned to going through the motions, to pay the bills, do what you got to do to play the game at the expense of your dream? If that's the case, it's time to take control of your business. We'll show you how to do that. It's about generating monthly recurring revenue to meet your monthly recurring expenses. So everything you do above and beyond your expenses is your profit. You're in control. You're in charge. You get to live your dream. Jeff, you and I have been working for years now, not just on the book, The Payday Practice, but on the training and in the follow-up concierge services necessary to make it simple and easy to build a payday practice so doctors can practice the way they've always dreamed of. What are you most excited about to see next? What does this topic bring up for you?
I think the biggest thing for me is just helping docs and seeing docs be able to minimize, or maybe not minimize, that's the wrong word, diversify their ability to generate revenue without trading time for money. And to me, that's one of the most important things docs can do out there. I love the fact if a practice is 80% fee for service, 20% monthly recurring revenue, passive recurring revenue, that feels right to me, and that is awesome. The challenge that I see is that 99% of chiropractors are 99.999% of fee for service. So it's not about going the complete opposite way. Yeah, there's some docs out there that are super pumped on online business, would love to really explore new territories outside of hands-on care. Cool. But for most docs, and what's needed is chiropractors to be able to take care of people day in and day out. And that happens by creating stable businesses that are able to be less vulnerable during the tides that come up and down. And one of the best ways to do that is to utilize the health tribe that you're building, utilize the equity that you've built with the people that already know, trust, and like you, all your past patients, active patients, and be able to offer ongoing services, especially when those services, products, supplements, whatever it might be, are not directly tied to your time. And if you're able to just swing that pendulum just a touch, you don't need to go crazy. We're not talking about dramatically changing anybody's practice in operations. What we are talking about is moving from 0% recurring revenue to 10, 20% recurring revenue, from 0% of your income being generated without your time to 10, 20% of your revenue being generated without you having to trade your time for it. I think that's what I am most excited about. Jason, today has been an awesome show on the Smart Chiropractor. We covered a lot of territory. I want to ensure before we wrap up that docs know if you want to stay up to date on what we're up to, please enable those notifications on your smartphone if you're watching this on a social channel, or if you're on YouTube, the world's second largest search engine. Subscribe to the Smart Chiropractor channel. You will be kept up to date on every single episode that comes out. We are going to continue to teach and invite consistently. Jason, take home message for today's show as we wrap up.
I'm excited. There's a lot of good stuff going on. We talked about Roger Bannister. You'll when we continually reference him, maybe those of you that have watched this will have a little deeper appreciation as to who he is and why we keep referencing him. Once you see it, somebody else can do it. We said it in chiropractic school. When it gets tough, find somebody ahead of you and you're like, if he can do it or she can do it, I can do it. And it's a motivating factor for all of us. And, that's sort of the philosophy of showing you what chiropractors are doing to build their tribe, how they're teaching and inviting consistently. Soon we'll be showing you more and more who are generating monthly recurring revenue in a variety of different ways. So you see that it's possible and you can do it too. I love Dr. Sok was awesome. I love what he's doing with the NFL. I hope that continues to grow. We talked about email marketing on your website. I mean, that is just, I'll say bringing our profession into today's day and age. That is common practice in all internet marketing businesses and all mainstream businesses, in fact, these days. Collecting emails in order to be able to stay in touch with your clients is basically business 101 right now. Chiropractors can come up to today's modern world. And I love the way you put time for money. I mean, that is just the practical reality of generating monthly recurring revenue and the benefit of being able to have your life back. That's what we mean by freedom. So not having to be over a table, again, trading time for money. I think they call that a job, not a business. And that may be actually the distinction between the two. So I like the way you put that all together. I'm excited. The shows will keep coming. My final, request is share your feedback. If you like the show, if there's something you got out of it, show us some love. Let us know what's come up for you. Did you learn something? Yes. Are we covering something that you don't think we should cover, or anything controversial you think is off base? In a appreciative way, let us know. Let's have the conversation. And if you've got requests, is there something we're dancing around, but you wish we would talk a little bit more about and deeper? Let us know. We take requests. Let's hear from you. Leave your comments down below, whether you want to share it privately if that's more appropriate, or publicly because you want to praise us. We always appreciate that. Let us know. Jeff, it's always a pleasure to do the shows with you. I am always impressed. I'll just share with others. If you're looking to build your tribe, find somebody who you enjoy doing these programs with. One of the hardest parts is staying consistent. And when you try to do it all by yourself, it's easy to let yourself off the hook when life happens. But when you've got a partner to do it with, especially one who you enjoy working with, as I enjoy working with Jeff so much, it becomes something different. And whether 2 people or 200 or 2,000 or 2 million people show up, the principle that we all know to be the case is Joe Rogan didn't start off where he is. He just started a lot earlier than any of us. And that's really the takeaway, is get started, get going. Jeff, I appreciate the show. And hopefully you'll share it with us, because I appreciate you watching as well.
Yeah, thank you, Jason. And that's a great point. Rogan is thousands of episodes in. So when you see him today, it's unfair to compare your first videos, your first interviews to what he's doing. It is all about, we will say it again, teaching and inviting consistently. So docs out there that are doing that, thank you for doing that. Your community appreciates it. We appreciate it. Even if we don't see it, even if you don't think you're getting as much engagement as you'd like to, keep up the good work. That is part of building a brand. That's part of building a business. And it's part of building a fantastic practice full of your ideal patients. None of that happens overnight. All of it takes practice. All of it takes building those skills up. We'll continue to build our skills each and every week on this show. So please, again, enable those notifications. Don't miss a show. Subscribe on YouTube. Don't miss a segment. And for Jason and our entire team, thank you so much for tuning in. If you would like to learn more about what we're up to, thesmartchiropractor.com is the place to be. We're happy to work with you and automate that content marketing. If you'd like to check out the blog and just discover how you can do more things yourself, it is there for you right now. So docs listening and watching, thank you so much. Have an awesome week. For Jason and our entire team, we'll see you next week. Bye-bye. Hey, if you like that video, be sure to subscribe to The Smart Chiropractor. We are posting videos on how you can market your chiropractic practice in a way that teach and invites consistently. We have found that is the magic formula to big time growth. So if you like this video, be sure to comment down below, smash that subscribe button, or visit us at thesmartchiropractor.com.